Hey everybody, welcome to G4G on YouTube. Today we're going to take a look at the fact that Marvel Strike Force is now going to be working with uniforms. And we're going to compare what we're seeing in Marvel Strike Force to Marvel Avengers Alliance. And also Future Fight has got two new uniforms that popped up recently that arrived a little bit after a big Future Fight update. So first, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got in Future Fight, because that's going to be the quicker one. So Future Fight rolled out two uniforms relating to WandaViz, or Wanda and Vision on Disney+. We have Cataract, which is White Vision. Now, here he's just being called Vision, and he's being called Marvel Studios WandaVision. There is no reference to the fact that the show called him Cataract. So for Vision, we have his original, we have his Age of Ultron, we have Uncanny Avengers, and when you see the thumbnails, it looks awfully like the Halloween episode of WandaVision. And these two, when I saw that there was a Cataract skin, and I went over here to look at Vision and what he had, and the buffs and the effects and everything of these uniforms, because I never use Vision, I'm actually, like, frankly disgusted that Marvel Future Fight did this. Uncanny and Modern basically have no real visual differences. The facial expression is slightly different, but for all purposes, this is a identical skin. I mean, this is completely ridiculous. Yes, there is a uniform effect over here, and Noble Light gets a change, but I think this is an absolute travesty that these two exist, and I hope this was one of the ones that they made available for gold and it was never available for crystals, because it's just straight up fuckdiculous that they did this. And I don't know why there was never a bigger stink about this. Maybe there was and I just didn't pay attention, but that's ludicrous right there. So we have Cataract. His attack and defense go up 15%. He's on sale for $8.75, and his uniform effect changes prophetic vision, energy charge, and intangible. There's a 30% increase to all attacks, a decrease in debuff duration, and increase in resistances. Taking him out into the Skillotron really quick over here. Let's see what he looks like. So he summons Wanda, which is really cool, and I kind of like the whole red beam, blue beam effect over there. He does not move during that ability. We have this one with the clones, which is pretty cool, and seems to have maybe a bind or a stun. An incapacitation. His aerial jump laser beam, which pretty much is like right out of the show from, there have been several moments, but in the fight between Vision and Cataract that happens. Intangible, which Vision is often represented in a lot of games of doing, where he kind of phases down, phases back up. And some kind of almost big EMP tech looking burst over there. Electricity emission. So there's Vision. And now Wanda, I actually have to go into my roster to show you, because I did get the Wanda one. Mostly because Wanda's been meta, so I decided to grab that one. Vision, I don't really have much use for. I don't really know where he belongs, so I didn't snag his uniform yet. I've been out of Future Fight for probably 6 months now, for the most part. I mean, I would often pull up Future Fight during the streams when I was doing it, at least for a little bit, but I just kind of stopped doing it daily, and I actually stopped, like, the effort with Future Fight right around the time of the boycott. I believed in the boycott enough that I just didn't spend money. I wasn't keeping up with the bio sub or the gem sub, and just kind of fell out of Future Fight a little bit. I have an alliance right now that is ridiculously casual, doesn't care what the fuck I do, so it's not like they're pushing me like, hey, you gotta log in, you gotta do your ABs, you gotta do your ACs. We don't care. So here is WandaVision's Wanda skin, or Scarlet Witch skin. Pretty cool, looks really, I think it's a very good uniform. I think her non-uniform elements look good in this. I think the face and the hair look good. It is very much like the skin at the end of the series. And for her, she has classic, Infinity War, Uncanny Avengers, and also classic, which we looked at, and all new, all different, which kind of reminds me a little bit of like maybe a modern take on the Romany skin. And here her crest comes really, really close to what it looked like in the show, especially when it was forming for the very first time. So this is what we're seeing here for these skins. Now, over here in Strike Force, as it loads up over here, we're going to pop into Redux real quick, and we will take a look at what we had for Vision and Scarlet Witch. So here we had Scarlet Witch, we had Transient Scarlet Witch, which sort of has a gypsy look to it. I used to call this one Stripper Witch back in the day. And then we had Age of Ultron, Scarlet Witch, or Goth Witch. Never really cared for this outfit too much, both mechanically and visually. However, Stripper Witch was extremely good, except for the fact that regular Scarlet Witch had the 2 E-ISO slots, and her ISOs were really, really good, as a matter of fact. But Stripper Witch's passives were also pretty solid, and once you got her with her A-ISOs, you could pretty much lose the second E-ISO slot and be okay with it. Vision gave us Classic Vision, which is fairly close to what we see in Marvel Future Fight, and then we got Age of Ultron Infiltrator and Age of Ultron Blaster. Both of these did up his power a little bit, and original Vision was fairly good in the early days of PvP when he was released, and his heroic battle was kind of tough, but again, Vision never really super broke into the meta. But if you kitted out Vision pretty well, he was a decent tune. He was probably not really going to win you a hell of a lot of PvP, but for PvE, he was relatively decent. So now we are going to go ahead and break into the Strike Force ones that are showing up. And in Strike Force, unlike Future Fight and Marvel Avengers Alliance, the Strike Force ones are purely cosmetic. They don't do anything other than change the appearance. So the first one that we're going to look into, some of these are not available yet, but the first one that we're going to look into is Deadpool, which brings back his time-limited uniform that we had, which was the X Factor uniform, or X-Force. I think whenever they decide to do something with this one, just give it to us for free. Seriously. I mean, yeah, if they give it to us for free, there's a chance everybody goes X-Force pool over here, and then you're not going to get a variety, and it's not going to stand out, because literally everybody could be it. However, it was free once, and people are already clamoring and getting upset over the fact that they may have to do something to get that one, which had historically just been available. So coming up next after Deadpool is Elektra, who has one of the purchasable skins now for 50,000 credits. It is called her modern look, which is pretty cool. She has the size, but the size looks just a little bit more lethal compared to the default. And, you know, poor Elektra, she just tends to have her default skin in a lot of games and not too much else, We did not have anything for her in Marvel Avengers Alliance. However, Future Fight has some for her. And, you know, honestly, you definitely can do a few things with Elektra. Future Fight proves that there are some things you can do for her skin beyond this, which is typically her normal representation. You could do a few things with her. It's good to see her get something. It really kind of does the Shadowlands aesthetic over here, and it makes sense with her now being part of the Shadowlands team. I think this is a pretty good uniform for the team that she's going to be on, but sometimes when you look at it, I think it's very easy to be like, is that just a generic hand, or is that actually Elektra, you know, a named character? So, we are going to go ahead and go back up here to talk about Thor, who has another unavailable uniform. And I'm just going to call this Adventures in Babysitting, because that's what this Siege one looks like. The face, he looks so surprised with this face. He looks like he just got finger in the butt and is really concerned about it. The hammer actually gets more plain. And to be honest, I think the skin is a downgrade. Yes, you have the scale mail on the arms, but it makes the arms look not as big. His chest doesn't look as big. The helmet looks Avengers in Babysitting. The hair coming down the sides of the helmet look fake, almost like a helmet guard. Well, alright, it isn't his hair. Well, maybe it is. I don't know what they're going for. On this side, it looks like a ring or maybe a helmet guard for the side of the head. But over here, it actually looks like a strand of his hair. Not a fan of the Thor uniform whatsoever. I doubt I would spend any hard-earned resources on this skin at all. The cape doesn't clip into the body as much, but not that impressed. Honestly, over in Marvel Avengers, Marvel Avengers on the consoles and everything, some Thor skins are really good, some of them are really bad, and some of them look like stretch denim. Here in Marvel Avengers Alliance, we had Classic, we had Modern Armor Thor, which represents like the beginning of the Avengers, and his movie, well, more his movie. Then you have Avengers Thor. You had Mighty Thor, and this is actually my favorite skin with the passives and everything. Mighty Thor was the one that I would pick. And in all honesty, it comes close to Siege, but I still think it's better. I think his dinner plate bumps over here far better, but you can see some similarities in the boots. And you have eventually Avengers Age of Ultron Thor. And you can see the resemblances back to his first Avengers uniform there. I'm Mighty Thor all the way, for the visual and for the passives of that particular skin. So the next thing we are going to look at is Veers. Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. She has a Kree-ish skin. So this one is basically, they outright tell you it's from the movie. It's the movie skin, and for all purposes, it is your Sub-Zero Scorpion palette swap from this one to her standard. When you see them side by side over here, it's pretty much identical. Hair and face is the same, pose is the same, sash is the same. I think up here, I can't tell if it's just pixelation. There maybe seems to be some stitch work on the striping going into the shoulders, whereas here, not as much. But then again, could just be contrast and coloring. This one is cheaper than Elektra, and it rightfully should be because it really barely does anything other than a palette swap. It's Scorpion, Reptile, Sub-Zero, Katana, Melina. I mean, it's not even Ryu and Ken. It's just straight palette swap. So that one seems a little much. Now, they also snuck in a few goodies over here that I wasn't originally expecting. But if you go to Scarlet Witch, we have WandaVision 50s. And Marvel Super War, I believe, has these black and white ones. So you have Future Fight dealing with kind of the end of the show, like episodes 5 and 6. And here we have Strike Force dealing, or excuse me, Marvel Super War. I hope I said that right. Marvel Super War, the mobile one that isn't worldwide yet. They have the black and white skin too. And so you've got Future Fight dealing with episodes 5 and 6 for both of them, and then you have Super War and Strike Force dealing with the black and white 50s one. Pretty good skin. I think the face changes a lot, and the hair changes a lot, and of course you have the black and white. This one I think would be worth spending some resources on, because it is just very different. And, you know, I can see a pretty even split of regular switches and black and white switches being out there. And then, so finally, we have one more left. And I believe I have him around my armor team, which I think I've already passed. Yeah, there's Rescue. So he should be here around my armor suits, and I think I'm probably giving it away at this point when I mention that, and that's Vision. So he comes in sort of, you know, it's a weird mix. It's kind of Age of Ultron and some other things, but they give us WandaVision 50s, black and white. I would say his face looks bigger, his shoulders look broader, he has less of a triangle build and more of like a straight down stocky build to him. So I think it provides ample differences from his regular uniform. Obviously, aside from the black and white, I think physically his body is a little bit different. So I think this one, unlike say Veer's, I think this one is definitely worth it. It's interesting to see that Scopely and NetEase, who does Super War, are doing some similar ones there. Usually you have a game house do the same thing across multiple variations of their game, but here we have two completely unassociated studios doing some similar skins, and I think that's pretty cool. So knowing that, and knowing that Falcon and the Winter Soldier just wrapped up, you know, it's run on Disney, everything, that kind of begs the question, who else could potentially get skins? I would say nearly everybody in this game, with the exception of Minions, can get skins. I mean, Cap, Widow, Gamora, these four up here would have a bunch of skins. Gamora a little bit less, but Hawkeye, Black Widow, Cap, the Avengers, tons of skins. Yondu, you could do one where, since he's actually got the visor on this one, this is more classic. You can maybe have more of a movie Yondu over there, or maybe a reference to when he had a bow and arrow. Star-Lord's got a bunch. Sabretooth, not so much. Maybe not Mantis. Rocket would have a bunch. Groot would have tons. Baby Groot, Teen Groot, King Groot, Thor Groot. Mystique kind of is usually represented as the same. Juggernaut, same thing. You could maybe do movie Juggernaut from Deadpool 2. Crossbones. Maybe one variation. Definitely a bunch of Magnetos. Tons of Spider-Mans. You could probably get a couple Hellas. Tons of better Thors. Venom. Could even maybe give him an Agent Venom look. Even though we don't, you know, since we don't have Agent Venom in the game. Psylocke's got a ton. Carnage, maybe a few. Definitely a few things you could do with Mordo. A bunch you could do with Strange. Heimdall and Sif a little bit less. A bunch for Loki. Couple for Quake. Minerva's, that's pretty much it. But there is a classic Minerva in Future Fight. Green Goblin definitely has a bunch you could do. Deadpool has several. Ronan, you could do his green one. A few more for Elektra. A few for Kamala. A ton for Wolverine. A bunch for Storm. Better ones for Captain Marvel. Couple for Daredevil, including Netflix Daredevil, Mustard Daredevil, more comics Daredevils compared to this Ben Affleck one. Bullseye would have a few. Yeah, not so much symbiote. Thanos would have a few. Kingpin would have a couple. Taskmaster has a bunch. He's got a bunch of different shields and masks. Switch would have a lot. Silver Surfer would have some. Elsa could have a bunch out of her comics. Hulk has got tons. Vulture, you could make him classic, like his bird outfit. Rhino, a little more classic. Iron Fist has got several, including the Heroic Age Iron Fist that everybody loved so much here in Avengers Alliance. I think I've probably passed him already. He was early. Yeah, I mean, this skin made him literally one of the best characters in the game until his nerf. Cable's got a ton. Marvel Heroes proved there's a lot you can do with Cable. A bunch of Ghost Riders. We're not going to talk about Iron Man. Several with Luke Cage. Not too much Rescue or Jessica. A whole lot with Emma Frost. I mean, she's basically a Mr. Potato Head of garments. You could just take stuff off of her, put stuff on, expose her belly, show more ass. I mean, that's all Emma does in these games. Is she's just like a dress-up Barbie stick-on thing. You just remove clothing from her, and it's a new Emma Frost costume. Anti-Venom, not really a heck of a lot you could do there. There was Agent Anti-Venom, which Future Fight gets into. But I mean, for the most part, Anti-Venom is Anti-Venom wherever he goes. Not really a whole lot of diversity there. There's a few Mysterios you could do, including Movie Mysterio. Definitely a few Shockers. A lot of Falcons. I mean, you can go his classic bird. You could do his new, like, Cap Falcon right there. War Machine, you could do a Pepsi or Iron Patriot. Mr. Sinister a little bit. Not too much Strife or Toad. Namor's got a whole bunch. Zemo, give us a Falcon and the Winter Soldier Brule. Make one that's unmasked. It looks like him, and maybe while he's standing here, just has like a little bit of a dance. White Tiger, you could do full face mask. Blob is Blob. Domino, you could give us a movie Domino, or one's a little bit closer to how she appeared in the game, sort of that whole leather getup. Bishop is kind of Bishop. Moon Knight would have a few. X-23 has a few, including a Wolverine one. Marvel Future Fight really kind of sets the trend when it comes to X-23. That's a really good reference. Shatterstar, not too much. Negasonic, not too much. Same for Longshot. The Black Order has a couple things you could do. There's a few things you could do with Proxima, including a more classic look or a movie look. Lang, Ant-Man, pretty much is always going to look like this. The helmet may change a little bit. Phoenix, there's a lot you can do with Phoenix. A lot you can do with She-Hulk. Not so much Chavez and Stature. Cull Obsidian or Black Dwarf has got a few things. Thing, there is definitely a bucket of things you could do with Thing, including Fear itself, where he wears the slug on his shoulder. A few things with Yellow Jacket. Couple things more with Vision. Invisible Woman, there's a bunch you could do. All the Fantastic Four could go Future Foundation. She could also do one where maybe she's just mostly invisible and there's just like a thin outline of her. Sort of like how stealth is represented in games like Heroes of the Storm or something. Cyclops has a bunch. Not too much Ghost. Wasp has got a few. However, if you do other things with Wasp, you change it from back and forth between Hope and Janet, which is a bit of a difference. Killmonger, you could give us one with a slightly different armor and the mask off, because he loses the mask in game, kind of like Vega. Couple things for Nebula. M'Baku, actually make him more in a white gorilla getup. Colossus you can do a lot with. Iceman, a little bit Shuri. Quite a few things with Black Panther. Quite a few things for Kitty Pryde and Beast. Squirrel Girl has a few. Over in Marvel Avengers Alliance, they would eventually give her a Howard the Duck cosplay, of all things, which was kind of funny. So there's Howard. There's Elsa. There's Misty, who's coming. I think I have passed Squirrel Girl already. Yeah, she was a little bit... I'm going to go back to the beginning and find Squirrel Girl over here. Now I think I'm too far to the... Okay, so... Punisher, yeah, Punisher is another one that you could do a bunch with, including like Punisher 2099. There she is. So they eventually gave her the Howard cosplay, which kind of looked like a detective with a bill, so Detective Quackens. Fantastic Four, Blackwater, quite a few things you could do with Bucky. Electro, you can give us classic Kremzeek, male Electro. Nick Fury, you could go back to his 50s representation. White with the very silvery white sideburns. Not too much for Red Skull and Swarm. Karnak, you could give us Big Head Karnak. Some of the Inhumans could have some other representations. There is the Red Guardian that is used in Future Fight and Marvel Duel. So this is movie Red Guardian, but there is another look to Red Guardian out there. Korath could be made to look more like his Kree version from the movies. Yelena's mostly Yelena. You could maybe give her the... that's kind of the snowsuit from the movies. There's a few other things you could do. Polaris, a little bit. Not too sure about Multiple Man. Doc Ock, I think we could do a few uniforms for. Jubilee, maybe one other. Colleen, I don't think would get much. Doom could have some, including Future Foundation Doom. And Misty Knight, I think, is pretty much only just going to be that one. So, there you go, guys. There is a bunch of new uniforms that some of the Marvel games are dealing with. Marvel Super War, of course, right now is the big, huge one for a lot of skins. It used to be Marvel Heroes back in the day, was where you would go to see a ton of skins. And Future Fight is there now, admittedly. Super War kind of takes up the mantle for really, really interesting skins for characters. And like Arcade Groot and Arcade Rocket and everything, and interplanetary ace suits where it makes everybody kind of look like a Gundam. This sort of was more like Bishop's like a Lawbringer Wild West kind of a kit to him than the one Strike Force has. But, you know, you could do a few things with Black Bolt. Not too much with Sabretooth. Moon Knight had several skins in Marvel Heroes. Doom just had Doom over here. Iceman was him and Death. So there's definitely a lot that could be tapped into. I just think we need to avoid those palette swap ones of Captain Marvel going back and forth with Veers, because who really wants to spend hard-earned resources on, like I said, a Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Reptile, Noob, Cybit kind of smoke? All just relative palette swaps of each other, and I think that's super cheesy. Marvel Avengers gets tagged for that a lot, where there's like, here's Ronin Hawkeye, but here's Ronin Hawkeye in a different color. And they're both legendary, and they're both expensive. So I made the mistake of getting Ronin when I saw it, and realized that the other Ronin one I like way better. So now I'm kind of fucked, unless I want to spend money on it. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think about the costumes that we've seen here. And do you think, with us getting the cool ones of WandaViz in both of these games, that maybe we can have things pertaining to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, including Cap Falcon? That would be pretty cool. Original Bird Falcon would be another one that I've always wanted in Marvel games, because that's what I think of when I think of Falcon, is Coco Beware bird outfit. So, catch you guys on the flip side. Hope you're having a good day, and stay healthy.